Dracula, a villain many people have heard of, but I think not too many people have actually ever, done some research on him, had a look at his movies and all that. And I did, because my curiosity got the better of me. Now, the first thing I did, I watched the 1931 Dracula movie made by Tod Browning. This is probably the oldest movie that I have ever seen. And I tell you what, it is great. Of course, 1931, that is 80 years ago. But still, I find things in this movie that I like. Now, the movie is loosely based on Bram Stoker's Dracula, in my opinion, one of the best horror novels of all time. And, being more of a loose adaptation, it is not following the book exactly. There are some major differences here, and I think most people who read the novel probably will notice those differences. However, the movie is still very watchable in my opinion. So why is that? One reason. Bela Lugosi. This guy has to be the best Dracula actor that has ever graced the screen. Lugosi's way of speaking, way he speaks his lines, has ever since become the trademark of Dracula. The strong accent he has, his gestures, it just fits in my opinion. This is what I imagined Dracula to be. Exactly, from what I've read in the novel. This is done right. The movie is not that long. It runs about 70 minutes, so it's barely longer than an hour. And for being a horror movie, it really is very tame, especially by today's standards. I guess back then, some people were scared. Famous imagery like Lugosi's vampire stare have become, the icon of this movie. That's the first thing I think of when I remember this flick. Now, what about the other actors? Most of the actors did a fair job, but I wouldn't call it acting at its best. It more feels like an on-stage theater performance, which I think was the way this was made. I think it was more based on the actual Dracula stage play that was going on back then. I even heard that when Lugosi died, he was buried with the Dracula cape that he wore on stage. And that was an incredible bit of trivia information right there. It's kind of scary. So, what about the others? The actor that plays Renfield, I don't know what his deal is, but he nailed it. Renfield is a crazy psychopath, we know that from a book, but this guy really portrayed him. He is so over the top, yet he is so scary. It's weird, you have to see it for yourself. Most of the other actors' performances are mostly very forgettable, unfortunately, with the exception of Van Helsing. I think they chose a great actor for Van Helsing, and the way he speaks, he is pretty much what I imagined Van Helsing to be, if someone were to make a movie out of a book. How does this movie hold up compared to the other modern adaptations, like the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula from the 90s? I actually think it's better than that. It's hard to explain. I know this movie's old, yet I appreciate everything it tried to do. Back then, you had the most basic ways of making movies, and I think considering that, what they did was pretty cool. Of course, you have rubber bats hanging on strings for special effects, but you know what? This was like half a century before CGI was even thought of for movies, so you really have to give it a break. Back then, people were, I don't know, their expectations on movies were a lot less. The horror genre was just getting started, which is one of the reasons why many consider this to be one of the first real horror movies. And I say that without a doubt. It is great. If you are a horror movie fan and you're interested in where that genre started off, I would suggest you check out this movie. Speaking of that, you can check out this movie pretty easily. The movie is public domain by now, considering its age. If you log on to IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, you can watch it for free. Just stream it onto your system and watch it. I believe you can even download it for free too. I'm not sure about that. Of course, if you want the movie in a good quality, I would wholeheartedly recommend the Legacy Legacy Edition. It's a DVD release that contained some of the most important horror movies of the 1920s and 30s, and I think even of the 50s. At least I'm pretty sure that it included The Creature from Black Lagoon. You can buy that as a box set. You also get the original Frankenstein movie and The Invisible Man. Now, all of these are pretty interesting, but Dracula is where it's at, in my opinion. It's pretty good. You can also buy it as a single DVD. I'm not sure if there is a Blu-ray release, but honestly, I would not be surprised if there is. So, that's basically my recommendation. What's the verdict? Well, I would say a 7.5 out of 10. You really have to consider the age of this movie for a fair rating. Of course, when you compare it to most of the really scary horror flicks today, it would fall short. But I'm being fair and say a 7.5, especially for the standards back then, really is okay. Some people would rate it even higher. Sure. I don't mind that. Some people would even rate this a 0. Well, everybody has different opinions. I'm just here to state mine. And in my book, this is a very good movie. So, check it out if you can.